Remember when like the biggest mystery was, who ate the last slice of pie?
Right.
Things have changed, haven't they?
Yeah.
It's like true crime is everywhere now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a national pastime, it feels like sometimes. It's even making headlines with the younger generation, you know?
Yeah.
There was this young rapper who they called the youngest flexer of the century, and sadly, he passed away. The circumstances around his death are like a whole true crime phenomenon.
It's wild, right?
It really is. And so today, we're going to unpack 3 recent cases that I think you'll find interesting. I found them on the Surlisely podcast, and they really like show the diversity and sometimes just like bizarre world of true crime.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be looking at the heartbreaking disappearance of this young girl named Oakley Carlson.
Yeah.
And then the shocking death of that internet sensation, Lil Tay.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, the murder of Rachel Morin. She was a mother of 5 on a Maryland hiking trail. What's so fascinating about all of these is that they offer like these unique insights into human behavior, societal issues, and, just like the unpredictable nature of life.
Absolutely.
So, we're not just here to rehash the headlines. We're going to like dig deeper into the information, analyze it, and hopefully just spark some discussions. Speaking of which, if you enjoy these deep dives into, complex topics, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. The first case, Oakley Carlson.
Yeah.
This one is just heartbreaking. Just
Yeah.
imagine a 5-year-old girl, last seen in 2021, vanishing from her Washington State home.
Wow.
And then her disappearance wasn't even reported for months. The details surrounding Oakley's case are just so unsettling.
And these recently unsealed court documents, they actually reveal a disturbing history of alleged abuse and neglect within Oakley's family.
It's just chilling, Oakley's siblings have reportedly told investigators about, just horrific experiences, claiming that they were locked under the stairs. And one sibling even shared a story about their mother telling them not to talk about Oakley because she was eaten by wolves in the woods.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and these allegations, along with multiple prior involvements of Child Protective Services, just raise serious concerns about, like, systemic failures. It seems like Oakley might have slipped through the cracks, even though there were so many red flags.
Right.
Sadly, adding to the tragedy, Oakley's mother was recently sentenced to prison, though not for anything to do with Oakley's case. It was for identity theft. Meanwhile, the search for Oakley continues, but it's been so long that hope is fading. It's a story that really makes you think, how could something like this happen?
Yeah. It definitely underscores the urgent need for a more robust and responsive child welfare system. But for now, Oakley's case remains an open wound, a haunting reminder of a young life lost. And the mystery surrounding her disappearance is just, yeah.
It's just awful. Now let's switch gears to a case that's almost the complete opposite in terms of its public profile. The perplexing story of Lil Tay. Do you remember her? She was that young rapper who kind of burst onto the scene a few years back, flaunting wealth and using, really strong language in her videos.
Lil Tay's rise to fame was really fast, and it really sparked a lot of controversy around child exploitation, cultural appropriation, that whole debate around, like, what's real and what's performance in the digital age.
And then, seemingly out of nowhere, came this shocking announcement of her death, along with her brothers, through, get this, a post on her Instagram account. But here's where it gets really strange. Authorities and even her former manager couldn't confirm the deaths.
Oh, wow.
The lack of official records and just like the conflicting information about how they supposedly died has just created this tangled web of online speculation, and it's all just shrouded in mystery.
It's just...
It really is. Makes you wonder, can we believe everything we see online? Is this a hoax? Some kind of publicity stunt or something much more tragic? It's just almost impossible to separate fact from fiction.
Lil Tay's story just highlights the importance of thinking critically and being media literate, especially when navigating the internet. For now, though, the truth behind her supposed death remains an enigma. It's kind of a testament to the power of the internet to both create and obscure stories.
Bizarre contrast to our next case, which is a very real, very brutal tragedy, the murder of Rachel Morin.
Mm-hmm.
This one will hit close to home for anyone who, enjoys spending time outdoors.
Yeah.
So Rachel Morin was a mother of 5, and she was found dead on a popular hiking trail in Maryland. Her disappearance and the discovery of her body just sent shockwaves through the community and beyond.
It's terrible.
So she was reported missing by her boyfriend one evening, and then less than 24 hours later, her body was discovered. And sources close to the investigation have revealed some really disturbing details. Apparently, Rachel had suffered severe trauma, and it seems like someone tried to conceal her identity.
Oh, wow.
The police are actively investigating her murder. They're following up on numerous tips, and they're exploring various scenarios, including the possibility of both targeted and random attacks. Rachel's boyfriend, who has a past criminal record, has denied any involvement in her death.
It's terrifying, right? It's like you just don't expect that. These three cases, they're each so different, but they're all just so captivating. What do you think these cases say about the world we live in today?
It's a good question. I think one of the biggest takeaways is just how influential social media is. Like the Lil Tay's case,
Right.
It was her platform, but it was also the source of so much misinformation about her.
Right.
And with Rachel Morin, it's been helpful in spreading awareness, but it's also fueled all these crazy theories and speculation. It's true. It really has changed how we consume information, especially with true crime. It can be a powerful tool for getting justice and amplifying voices, but it can also distort the truth and create these really harmful narratives.
Exactly.
And then there's Oakley Carlson, the alleged abuse, the fact that the system failed her, the lack of accountability. It really makes you think about those cracks in our society and how vulnerable people fall through them.
It's a tough reality to face.
Yeah. These cases, they're all so different, but they make you think about our responsibility to protect people who are vulnerable, to seek justice, and to just be really careful about the information we consume, especially now when it's coming at us from every direction.
That's so important, especially in today's world. We're just bombarded with information all the time.
Right. It's like that old saying, don't believe everything you read on the internet. But it's not even just about what we read online. It's about how we process and understand all information.
And that's where critical thinking becomes so crucial. We need to ask ourselves, who benefits from this narrative? What biases might there be? What information is missing? We should be asking these questions all the time, not just with true crime, but with everything.
So it's about being informed and engaged,
Right.
approaching the world with a critical and thoughtful mind.
Exactly. We have more information than ever before, but that doesn't mean we're more informed. It's the quality of the information, not the quantity, that matters.
And that's where deep dives like this come in.
Right.
We're taking the time to really peel back the layers, examine the complexities, and get our listeners thinking critically.
And hopefully we're not just entertaining, but we're also giving our audience the tools to be more discerning, to be more engaged citizens.
I love that. Informed, engaged, and empowered. That's what we're all about. You said earlier that these cases highlight our collective responsibility to protect those who are vulnerable. I think that's such an important point to make.
It is. Whether it's a child facing abuse, a young person caught up in internet fame, or someone who's been the victim of violence, we have a responsibility to look out for one another.
It's about noticing those signs, speaking up when something feels wrong, and just creating a culture of support and accountability.
Building communities where people feel safe, where they know they'll be heard, where they know they're not alone.
And that starts with awareness, right? Being aware of the issues, the vulnerabilities, and the potential risks.
Absolutely. You can't solve problems you don't acknowledge. As we wrap up this deep dive into these three very different but connected cases, I want to encourage everyone to think about what they've learned. Be critical of where you get your information and consider how you can help create a safer, more just, and more informed world.
That's a powerful message. And before we go, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. It's unsettling, right? All these cases. Oakley, Lil Tay, Rachel. It's like they tap into these anxieties we have about the world. Do you ever get that feeling? Like the world is becoming more dangerous, more unpredictable.
I think it's easy to feel that way with, like the constant stream of information we see. But you have to remember, statistically, violent crime has actually been going down for a long time now.
Yeah.
The way it's reported and shared can really make things feel scarier than they are.
That's true. The news is on 24/7 now.
Yeah.
And then there are all the algorithms on social media. It's like everything is trying to get us hooked on the most sensational stories. And true crime just fits that so well.
Yeah.
But then it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture.
Exactly. We see these really extreme cases and we start to think it applies to our own lives, and it creates all this fear and distrust.
Right.
But keeping things in perspective is important.
Yeah.
As tragic and disturbing as these cases are, they're not the everyday reality for most people.
So how do we balance that feeling of unease with what the statistics actually say?
Well, I think it's about being informed, but not letting it overwhelm you. It's about looking at these stories critically, questioning the narratives that are being presented and just trying to get a balanced understanding of things.
One thing that struck me about all three of these cases is the uncertainty. Like with Oakley, it's that not knowing what happened to her. With Lil Tay, it's that lack of clarity. Like, did she actually die? And then with Rachel, it's the ongoing investigation. We're still looking for answers.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like living with uncertainty is just part of life these days.
Yeah, it's interesting. We have more information than ever, but there's still so much ambiguity, so many conflicting stories. It can be pretty unsettling.
So how do we deal with all that? How do we feel grounded when the information is so shaky?
I think it starts with developing a healthy sense of skepticism, not like cynicism, but more like a willingness to question things, to see things from different perspective, and to be okay with not knowing everything.
Being open to those gray areas. Understanding that the truth can be complicated and hard to find.
Exactly. It's also about being smart about where you get your information from, be aware of biases, and be willing to do your own research.
So you're saying we need to be more active, like really engage with the information instead of just taking it in.
Right. We can't just absorb everything that's thrown at us. We have to be active, filter things, analyze, evaluate.
I get it, but it takes effort, right?
It does, but it's important because ultimately you're taking control of how you understand the world. You're becoming more informed, more critical, and more empowered.
And hopefully less anxious along the way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Understanding the complexities, the nuances, it can help you move past the fear and get a more balanced view.
Well said. This deep dive has been really eye-opening.
It's been great talking about all this. Just remember, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us. We'll see you on our next deep dive.